Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie. I'm Angel. This is the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks. Today we have Tim Kelly on, and he's going to be talking to us about mobile home communities, mobile home parks. He's going to be talking to us a little bit about just investor mindset and what it takes to be successful in this. He is an active duty member of the United States Navy. He's a chief petty officer. He's been in the military for 14 years. That's a really long time. That's what some people have spent in their careers so far, you know?
That's right.
But, you know, just thank you so much for your service. Thank you for taking care of me and my family and making sure that we're safe. That's a really big deal. So he is also into multifamily, which is kind of where my passion is kind of heading as far as real estate investing. But the other part of me is just, this is our educational platform for our business. And this is where my heart is. I resigned from teaching in February. I was teaching middle school English. And so I will always have an educator heart. I do still teach college economics, but it's just a little bit different than being in the public school setting. So this is providing education is where my passion lies.
Well, that's why we get along so well.
So you're into education too?
Absolutely. That's what we're doing with ADPI. I mean, I got a big heart for educating and helping other people. So.
Yeah. So I had someone ask me the other day, I think he was under the impression that I was involved in ADPI. And I was like, oh, I'm not. I said, but this is my understanding of how it works. And so I told him, like, I think it's, you know, it's veterans, it's active duty personnel, and y'all have like components and like a program where you can learn about different real estate investing niches. Is that on the right?
I can give an overview here in a minute whenever, you know, I want to give a really brief bio about me whenever you're done, and then we'll talk about a little bit of what ADPI does for sure.
All right. So if you want to go ahead and do that, you can.
Cool. All right, guys. So again, my name is Tim Kelly. I am the director of multifamily education with ADPI, and just we're going to talk about mobile home parks today. One of my favorite asset classes once I got into multifamily, and then mindset, because mindset is everything. And we're going to talk about it. You know, a lot of us hear people say, well, mindset is everything. What does that actually mean? And what can we do right now today to improve that? And I'm going to give you guys a lot of gold nuggets on how to do that. So like Renee said, I'm an active duty chief petty officer. I'm stationed in Pensacola, Florida. And I really believe that the military training that is embedded into military personnel are literally tools to persevere and succeed in business, and especially in investing. So lots of cool things there. And I think that's why we were all kind of bred to be, you know, very good business owners and investors. So, you know, on one of my deployments, I just had a stack of books about personal finance and wealth building, which I always was curious to learn more about. And I just kept coming across this real estate investing niche is accessible to anybody, that anybody could build wealth doing that. So I just kind of dove headfirst into that, and I learned more and more and more about real estate. And now I'm the senior managing partner at Kelly Housing Group and at ADPI Capital, which is the active duty passive income acquisitions team. And so at this point, I have over 1,000 units, both apartment communities, mobile home parks, and now we're looking at storage facilities. The ADPI team and I, we wrote a best-selling book called Military House Hacking. It's actually free on our website. It tells a lot about the house hacking strategy and in the military, and you have the VA loan to use. It's one of the best, you know, benefits that the military offers, and you can get a 0% down loan. You can buy a fourplex with a 0% down. Love doing that. I've house hacked 3 different times, and I love helping other people understand how to do that. And like I said, I'm the director of multifamily education and an executive partner at ADPI. So ADPI, it's education is at our core, and our mission is to help educate other military members, past and present, and their families about how to achieve financial freedom in real estate investing. You know, so we have a best-selling book, Military House Hacking, that's free on our website. We have a podcast where we've interviewed people like Robert Kiyosaki and Grant Cardone and Jocko Willink and all these amazing people. And then we also interview junior sailors and enlisted and commissioned personnel about how they've become successful after listening and going through our education and taking action. So it's pretty cool. And then, we have a couple different books that are free. I wrote another one called The Blueprint to Financial Success, which is really the tools and things that we should have learned in school about money, right? The financial foundation principles that you kind of need to have in place before you could just dive headfirst into real estate. So that book is free on our website. We have a Facebook group, about 12,000 members and growing. It's just growing insanely fast. Amazing group, a lot of value. No soliciting allowed, so it's just straight value, and we love engaging with everybody on our Facebook group. And we have an academy and a mastermind for the residential 1 to 4 unit strategy, and we have an academy and a mastermind for the commercial and multifamily, because again, that's all I focused on, and I'm the director of the multifamily education, which includes that academy and the mastermind. Where we bring on guests that they all of our members have direct access to us. We give them an inside look at what ADPI Capital does. We're buying apartment complexes and mobile home parks, and we give them an inside look at how we raise capital, how we structure our deals, how we fund our deals, all that cool stuff. And we have a mortgage brokerage to fund deals better than most lenders out there, big banks especially, that think that they're awesome veteran VA loan experts, and they're not. They're really not serving the veterans well. So that's why we established our own mortgage brokerage. We established our own insurance brokerage so we could fund whole life insurance policies, which we believe are the best place to provide, preserve capital. And we have a whole network and a coalition of certified agents that we can connect our members with too, that we vet, we interview them to make sure they're the best of the best, and we connect them with our members. And so we have a lot happening, a lot going on, a lot coming in the future. So that's just a little bit about myself and ADPI. And I hope, I'm pretty sure we all have a why, right? My why is all kinds of stuff, but this is my beautiful, lovely wife, Allison. And we love being active in the community. We love traveling. We love giving back to the military. She's supervising one of the largest USO, which is, you see a lot of USO centers in the airports and stuff like that. But the USO is really a home away from home for military members, whether you're in Afghanistan or Iraq, overseas in Africa, or you're here at home. And she, manages all the volunteers, all the different programs. Huge fan of music and live music. I'm actually been drumming in my band. We got a gig tonight, the first gig since COVID kind of struck everybody. So I get to play the first show. So this is pretty much my why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I wake up at 4 a.m. to get hot and kind of, push the needle forward in multiple ways before my 9-to-5 active duty job, and why I'm trying to serve as many people as possible through ADPI. These kind of a couple of reasons why. We love traveling the world. We love scuba diving and things like that. So, I got here to Pensacola about 3.5 years ago, bought a fourplex, using a 203K FHA loan because I had to take advantage of that house hacking strategy. And then 6 months later, I bought a 42-unit apartment complex with these 5 fine gentlemen. And since that point, it's just been all large apartment communities and mobile home communities, because I just honed my focus on multifamily and never looked back. And it's just, the minute I learned about multifamily, the minute I realized it's just made more sense for my goals. So, before I just go ahead and dive into mobile home parks, and then we'll transition into mindset. This is going to be somewhat of a 10,000-foot view level of mobile home parks, a lot of terminology, help you understand pretty much why we love mobile home parks, maybe some advantages and disadvantages, and some stigmas out there. Do you guys have any questions at all for me before we go ahead and get started here?
Keisha Ann had asked me, she said, is single family better than multi? I think you probably heard some of the conversation I was having. My personal view is that multi is much easier to scale, and you can mitigate the risk of vacancies. Do you have anything to add to that?
Absolutely. So, the classic answer is it depends, right? It depends on your goals, on your skills and abilities, on your team members, on what you want real estate to do for your life. There are people who are vastly successful who never touched multifamily, who they were in single families their whole career. But I do know a lot of those people are hurt the hardest during crashes, during recessions, during COVID type situations, because it's one door. And a lot of times it's obviously more to rent a home than it is to rent a small apartment or a trailer park, right? Or a unit in a mobile home park. So, it really, really, really depends. And there's not an answer, because it depends on what makes sense for you. Multifamily immediately made sense for me because I'd rather close one deal with 100 doors than close 100 different separate deals with one door each. But there's pros and cons. I mean, there are absolutely advantages of single family home than there is compared to multifamily. So it really just depends on you. There's not one that's just ultimately better. And if anybody says that there is, then just don't listen to them, because they're either selling something or they're not experienced. I personally probably won't ever buy a single family home ever. Even to live in, like, I'm always going to try to scoop up a property to live in where there's at least 2, 3, or 4 units, because it just mitigates against risk. You have multiple units producing cash flow. You could have half the property, vacant, and you could still probably pay your bills and maybe get some cash flow if you buy it right and it's financed right, and it's managed right. So, does that answer your question? I know she can't really respond to us, but
Well, I have the chat window up, so I'm looking. She said yes.
So,
and then that was kind of like what I said too. And I mean, it's what your comfort level's at.
yeah.
Are you comfortable we aren't GPs. We're passive in forced syndication deals.
Yeah.
So, are you comfortable just putting money out there and letting somebody else invest with it?
Yeah. That's a great way. I mean, a lot of GPs aspire to be an accredited passive investor like you guys, where they don't have to find the deal, negotiate the deal, do any of the work. They just take their cash that they've saved up over time, and they have to learn how to vet the sponsors. They have to understand how to kind of do their own deal underwriting and understand what deals look like. But that's it. That's true passivity and mailbox money. You sit back, you just invest your capital, you get a quarterly dividend, double-digit returns, plus a K1, plus tax benefits, plus equity growth. I mean, you capture a lot of benefits of real estate. You don't get all 5 profit centers when you're a passive investor. You get more so of those profit centers and all the benefits of real estate when you're a general partner, but you're doing a lot more work. So it really depends on what makes more sense to you. But if you guys know the cash flow quadrant, I mean, when you're a limited partner, you're on the right side of the quadrant. You're not exchanging your time for dollars. It's true passive income, and you're an investor. So, but yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to talk to you more about that. And that's how we structure some of our deals are syndications, some of them are JVs, depending on what's going on. But we've partnered with a family office at this point, and they're funding all of our deals for us, which is pretty sweet.
Oh,
so.
That's nice.
Yeah. So any other questions before I kind of dive in here?
All right. So she says, how do you find these mobile parks, and are these predominant are they more predominant in certain states than others?
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about how do you find mobile home park deals, because then that actually applies to both apartment complexes and mobile home parks. Obviously, there's some different specifics to how you find mobile home park deals compared to apartment communities, but I'm going to get into that too. And absolutely, there's just like analyzing a market for an apartment community or even a single family home, whether it's a portfolio or whatever, just a sound investment. You need to understand the market before you even start looking at the numbers and the financials of the deal. Because it's something you cannot move. It's more an exterior impact than because you can control a lot more of that investment. You can evict people. You could force appreciation by adding value. You could do a lot to control the income and expenses on the property, but you can't do anything to control the market, right? So understanding the market, demographics, making sure that there's diverse employers, multiple strong employers that are growing, making sure that the population is slowly increasing over the last 5 to 10 years, making sure unemployment is not below the national average. It's always helpful when the median home price is above 100,000 at least, and maybe more, closer to 120. because if the homes in that market are less than 100,000, a lot of your potential tenants for affordable and workforce housing will be able to buy their own home instead of being one of your residents and your renters. So the median home price, usually we like to be over, 120,000 on average. And, the population not only should be going up, but it should be at least, over 25,000 in that market, or at least 50 miles away from a market that has at least 25,000 population. But I tell you what, there's a huge demand. And so I'm just going to dive right in, and we'll kind of talk about a little bit of that. And please, Angel, if I'm going through something, and just stop me if there's questions with what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep powering through. Good to go.
All right. We are good to go.
Mobile home parks. Also, if you ever hear anybody talk about mobile home communities or manufactured home communities, trailer parks, all the same thing. But, trailer parks is probably my favorite because it's got the stigma, and that's what scares a lot of people. That's why a lot of people don't dive into them. So these are just some reasons why we love them. It's a major solution to the affordable housing crisis. We all know there's an affordable housing crisis happening nationwide, right? So many people who need affordable housing do not have it provided to them. So if you could provide clean, functional, safe, and affordable housing, it's going to be a sound investment if you're in the right market, right? And if it's marketed properly, if it's financed right and managed right. For every 10 people who need affordable housing right now, I think less than 3, 2.5 people have it provided to them. So if you can create affordable housing and market it right, that's why we love it. And there's no more affordable type of housing than mobile home communities. I mean, the average apartment unit is over $1,000 a month, right? The average mobile home pad rent is not even $300 a month. So think about that. It's the most affordable housing. So there's a lot less investor competition because, like I said, there's a stigma out there, trailer park boys and 8 Mile and all these, assumptions that nothing but crime happens in trailer parks and domestic violence and drugs and all this stuff. That is not true. There is just as many apartment communities that are ridden with riffraff and crime than there are trailer parks or mobile home communities. It's just a stigma out there that scares a lot of investors. They just turn their noses at it, so they don't even consider it, which is great. The more you know about it, you could just let all those people scatter off and, hey, I'll take this down because we know there's a lot more upside in mobile home parks than there are in apartment complexes. And so there's a far lower expense ratio, and this is one of the reasons. So, the idea is for most investors to get in, and you have a split between park-owned homes and tenant-owned homes. Usually, the goal is to have 100% tenant-owned homes where you own the ground. They not only own their own home, they do all the maintenance, they're in charge of taxes, insurance, repairs, and they still have to pay you lot rent. And that lot rent is only going up, which is another one of the advantages here. Your lot rent, like I said, is less than 300, depending on the market. Some lot rents, obviously West Coast, 500-600 a month, but a lot of the parks we're buying are 200 or less than 200, where the market has room to grow up to 300, 350. I mean, there's a lot of upside because moms and pops have been so afraid to increase lot rents over the last couple decades for fear of vacancy that there's just, you go in there. I mean, even if you bump it up $100 a month, there's still no more affordable place to live, right? Obviously, you don't want to just do that. You want to be an empathetic capitalist, which is what we'll talk about here in a little bit. You're going to get people pissed off if you increase rent. If you go in there, buy it, and increase rents immediately that much, maybe 20, 30 a month, or 20, 30 a year. But anyway, that's another huge benefit, and we really believe it's the housing with the highest returns because of kind of some of those advantages. And there's a lot more advantages that I don't have really time to dive into, but there are some disadvantages, and it's not all rainbows. It's not pretty. Obviously, there's a lot of things that really, even people who learn about mobile home parks are like, nah, it's not for me, which is fine. We'll talk about those in a little bit. So just some kind of basic terminology. If you know multifamily, you know A, B, C, and D class. Well, mobile home parks are often classified by stars. So 1 star to 5 stars, where 1 star is like the hood, the war zones. You don't want to go there unless you're carrying heat right at night or even during the day. But the 5 stars are like your 55 plus with bingo and shuffleboard, and they have transportation and all gated community. And those are what we really, really like. And that's kind of what we're shifting our business model towards, because think about how many baby boomers right now are retiring and they're healthy and they just want to go socialize in a community that's safe and has all these amenities, and they don't need anything more than just a single wide mobile home, you know? So, park owned home, POH. Like I said, when sometimes we buy parks where they're mostly park owned or maybe half park owned or some park owned, where you have to take care of the maintenance and the repairs. But at the same time, it's more rent. It's just like you're renting out the lot plus you're renting out the unit. So you have more opportunity for gross income. However, that income is not capitalizable. The lot rent is capitalizable. So that's another kind of thing to take into consideration. So POH, park owned home, TOH, tenant owned home. And then the mobile home, that term was coined in 1976, when realistically it was supposed to be called the manufactured home. And then people just started calling it a mobile home because it has a hitch, because you could, hitch it to a trailer. And the most affluent people, actually, when these were implemented in the 50s and 60s and 70s, like some of the most successful and affluent people actually were the only ones to have mobile homes, because they were the only ones to be able to afford it in addition to their home. And so kind of over time, it kind of transitioned a little bit. But mobile homes, which is another huge advantage, they're not very mobile, right? Once you kind of put a mobile home into a park and you take the time to level it, brick it, you put the skirting around, which is kind of the white siding on the bottom, that's called skirting. You hook up all the utilities, you skirt it. In order to unskirt it, unhook all the utilities, move it, put it back down, level it, it can cost between 8 to 10 grand sometimes, and most mobile home park residents don't have that kind of cash, right? So that's why we love mobile home parks. Are not very mobile. Sometimes we do call them real estate, but the tendency here is that when a mobile home park is sitting in a park, it usually doesn't move for a long time, which is another advantage over apartment complexes. A lot of times after their 12-month leases up, they usually have a tendency to find a reason to leave. So single wide, double wide, even a triple wide. These are just some more terms. As you can see, single wide is just the normal trailers that you think. Double wide is exactly twice the size. It's just kind of two together. There's not a wall in between, but it's two together. Those are some dimensions for you. And then the triple wide, there are people who have that kind of go big or go home mentality that live in trailer parks. It's literally 3 trailers wide. And those are, it's plenty of space. Absolutely, for even a big family of 4 or 5. So, just a little bit of terminology. The hitch is kind of like on a regular RV or trailer where you hook up their truck and you could tow it from place to place, and that's where it's called real estate or mobile homes, right?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you've got your mobile home community and you're renting out the pads, so single versus double versus triple, do you have different size pads for those capabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We have a question. How many, I'm guessing bedrooms, it might be bathrooms, but I'm betting bedrooms fit in each.
Yeah, so even a single wide could have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. That's usually the most. Some of them will be 2, some of them will be 3. Usually most of them are going to be 3. A lot of them are 2. But like the double wide's going to have 4 or 5. Triple wide's going to have, 4 or 5 big bedrooms. I actually never seen or walked in a triple wide. We don't have any triple wides in any of our parks. We have double wides. But some single wides even have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You can't really fit any more than 3 in a single wide, but a lot of them are 2s. So then a lot of the parks that we look at have some RVs, some of them have tiny homes or modular homes. Some have stick-built homes, right? Like the regular brick and mortar homes that a lot of us live in. So this is just a couple more terms, and we don't have any full-blown RV parks. We do have some parks that have RVs in them, But I said a lot of the parks that were built and now they're up for sale, or they're undergoing transactions. They have RVs and tiny homes, and the modular homes are just like kind of sort of like the manufactured homes, but they're built in modules on site. They're kind of towed and transported to the site wherever they're going to be built, and they're kind of just built in big chunks, big modules.
So are those moved on like skids or?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it really depends on the transport company and the distributor and the manufacturer. There's probably a few different ways that those can be done. But like I said, they're a lot more permanent than like a typical mobile home. But they take a lot less time because they're kind of partially built. The modules are built in the factory, and in 4 to 6 different pieces, they're just brought over to the site, and then they're kind of just mounted together on site. And you can build a home really quickly in modules rather than from ground up on site. So
cool.
Land lease communities are exactly kind of a lot of those are what we spoke about, like the 55 plus communities. They have the amenities and maybe a clubhouse or a swimming pool, and they have maybe social areas for people to kind of get together. It's just a great business model right now, I'm telling you.
Wow.
And so a lot of times, since the goal for a lot of mobile home park owners to have 100% tenant owned homes. But when you have maybe half of those are park owned homes, a lot of those tenants or residents are willing to become homeowners. So we actually lease them back through a rent to own or a lease purchase option contract, to where we are kind of like the note holder, and maybe we own the home. We can create a note and create a mortgage for them, and they will just pay a mortgage. And as soon as their mortgage is paid off, they own the home and they'll only pay lot rent. And, the tenancy for all park owned, or tenant owned homes, it's, they have a better sense of community and a sense of home ownership. So usually they'll take more care of their, not only the home, but they'll help take care more of the community. They'll help kind of enforce and police people. So there's a lot of benefits to having 100% park owned or tenant owned homes. So you could actually create this contract, and, while you're creating this contract, you could increase the lot rents, because then eventually they'll only be paying lot rent. So it's pretty cool. And the lot rent and ground lease, same thing. If they own their own home, then they're just paying lot rent, also known as ground lease.